She saw the billionaire CEO with her best friend and walked away. A year later, he saw her with twins. The lobby is silent except for the echo of her footsteps on marble. She stops. Her breath catches. Across the room, under the chandelier that costs more than her yearly rent, the man she loves is kissing someone else. Not just someone. Her best friend. The bag of Thai food slips from her fingers. It hits the floor with a sound no one hears because everyone is clapping. They are celebrating an engagement. His engagement. To her. Mara Chen stands frozen in the grand entrance of Sterling Innovation Headquarters, watching her entire world collapse in real time. She came here to surprise him. She wore the emerald dress he said made her eyes look like summer storms. She practiced smiling in the mirror, imagining how it would feel when Dominic Sterling finally stopped hiding her, finally introduced her to his world as the woman he loved. Instead, she is watching him slide a ring onto Vanessa Park's finger. Vanessa, who knows every secret Mara has ever whispered into darkness. Vanessa, who held her when she cried, who promised that Dominic was different, that his love was real. The crowd erupts in applause again. Dominic's voice carries across the lobby, confident and clear. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to introduce my fiancée, Vanessa Park. We will be married next month in a private ceremony. Mara feels her knees buckle. The room tilts. She cannot breathe. This cannot be real. 4 days ago, Dominic told her he loved her. He said she was his future. He said to wear something beautiful tonight, because everything was about to change. He was right about that part. Their eyes meet across the expanse of polished marble and expensive suits. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, she sees something flash across his face. Horror, recognition, guilt. But then it vanishes so completely she wonders if she imagined it. His expression smooths into something cold and distant, the face of a stranger looking at an inconvenience. Mara does not run. Running would require her body to remember how to move, would require her brain to send signals to muscles that have forgotten their purpose. She walks instead, one foot in front of the other, mechanical, precise, like a person who is drowning but still trying to pretend they know how to swim. Mara, wait. Vanessa's voice stops her 3 steps from the exit. Mara turns slowly, each movement feeling like it is happening underwater, like gravity has changed, and her body weighs 1,000 pounds. Vanessa stands beside Dominic now, his arm around her waist, possessive and certain. The diamond on her finger catches the light. It is obscene how beautiful it is. It just happened, Vanessa says, her voice pitched low and intimate, the same tone she used when they shared secrets at 3 in the morning. We tried to fight it, but love does not follow timelines or rules. You understand, do not you? You have always been so mature about these things. Mature. The word tastes like broken glass in Mara's mouth. Dominic's hand tightens on Vanessa's waist. When he looks at Mara now, his eyes hold nothing but polite dismissal, the expression of a man encountering a stranger who has made an awkward social error. Mara, he says, and her name sounds different in his mouth now, empty of everything that used to fill it. I appreciate you stopping by, but as you can see, this is a private celebration. Perhaps it is best if you go. The lobby has gone silent. 50 faces watching this collision with the fascination people reserve for disasters they are grateful are not their own. Mara feels their eyes on her skin like a physical weight. You told me you loved me. Her voice comes out smaller than she intended, a child's voice pleading for truth in a world that has stopped providing it. 4 days ago, you said I was your future. I think you have misunderstood the nature of our relationship. Dominic's tone could freeze fire. We spent time together, yes, but it was never serious. If you interpreted friendly attention as something more significant, I apologize for any confusion. The words land like physical blows. Friendly attention, never serious. Confusion. A woman materializes from the crowd, Victoria Sterling, Dominic's mother. She is dressed in sapphire silk and controlled rage. When she looks at Mara, it is the way someone might examine something unpleasant they discovered on their shoe. I do not know what fantasy you have constructed, Victoria says, each word precisely articulated, sharp as a scalpel. But my son would never seriously involve himself with someone of your background. Your desperation is embarrassing for everyone present. including yourself. Mrs. Sterling, please. Mara hates the pleading in her own voice, hates that she cannot stop the words from spilling out. Just let me talk to Dominic alone for 5 minutes. Let him tell me the truth without all of you watching. Vanessa laughs. It is a sound like breaking glass wrapped in velvet. Sweetheart, she says, and the endearment feels like a knife sliding between Mara's ribs. The truth is that men like Dominic come from a world where marriages are about legacy and partnership. You are sweet, and we have had fun together as roommates, but surely you understood you were never going to be more than a temporary distraction for him. Mara looks at Dominic one final time. She searches his face for any sign of the man who traced constellations on her bare skin and told her she made him believe in magic. She finds nothing except cold dismissal. Tell me you never loved me, she says, and her voice breaks completely now, shattering into pieces that match her heart. Look me in the eye and tell me these 11 months meant nothing, and I will walk away. Dominic meets her gaze without flinching. What he says next will echo in her nightmares for years to come. It meant nothing. You were a pleasant distraction during a stressful period. I am sorry if I gave you the wrong impression, but I am asking you to leave now before this becomes more unpleasant than it already is. Victoria raises one manicured hand. 2 security guards appear from the edges of the lobby, materialized from shadows like they were waiting for this exact moment. Please escort this young woman out, Victoria says. She is clearly confused and needs to leave before she embarrasses herself further. The guards move toward Mara. She lets them guide her toward the exit, because what else is there to do? Her legs move on autopilot, while her mind fractures into pieces too small to name. The last thing she sees before the revolving doors swallow her is Dominic standing beside Vanessa, his mother's hand on his shoulder, watching her leave without a single word of defense or truth. The November air hits her face like a slap. She realizes she forgot her coat. She forgot everything except the look on Dominic's face when he called their love nothing. Bird. Days dissolve into each other like watercolors in rain. Mara stops answering her phone, stops going to work, stops getting out of bed except when her body demands it with increasing urgency. The hotel room she moved into smells like industrial cleaner and other people's abandoned lives. It is all she can afford now that she cannot face the apartment she shared with Vanessa. The world happens to someone else. She watches it from a great distance, through glass that keeps getting thicker. Then comes the morning she vomits so hard she thinks her body will turn inside out. She knows before she buys the tests, knows with the certainty of someone who has already lost everything and is about to lose more. 3 positive pregnancy tests sit on the bathroom counter like tiny bombs, waiting to explode her life into even smaller fragments. Mara stares at them until sunset turns the room amber, until the plastic sticks become just white shapes in shadows. She has 2 choices: fall apart completely or find strength she does not know she possesses. Something inside her refuses to let Dominic Sterling destroy her utterly. Something small and fierce that sounds like her grandmother's voice telling her that Chen women do not break. They bend until the storm passes, and then they rise. Mara reaches for her phone with shaking hands. She tries calling Dominic 17 times over 3 days. Each message she leaves grows more desperate, more raw. She needs to tell him about the pregnancy, needs to give him a chance to do the right thing even though he has already proven he is incapable of it. On the 4th day, a woman calls her back. This is Jennifer Wu, the voice says, professional and cold, Mr. Sterling's executive assistant. Mr. Sterling has asked me to inform you that he considers your brief involvement concluded. Any further attempts to contact him will be treated as harassment with legal consequences. Please, Mara says, and she hates how small her voice sounds. I just need 5 minutes to tell him something important. If you are experiencing financial difficulties as a result of your poor choices, Miss Chen, Mr. Sterling is not responsible. I suggest you seek assistance elsewhere. The line goes dead. Mara tries calling again. The number is blocked. She sends emails that bounce back undeliverable. She stands outside Sterling Innovations' glass towers until security threatens to call the police. She understands, finally, completely, that Dominic Sterling has erased her from his life as thoroughly as if she had never existed. That night, sitting in her hotel room with her hand pressed against her still flat stomach, Mara Chen makes a promise to the life growing inside her. She will raise this child alone. She will never ask Dominic Sterling for anything. She will build a life so strong that neither she nor her baby will ever need a man who could betray them so completely. The pregnancy test sits on the nightstand like evidence of her own stupidity. Mara Chen begins planning her disappearance from a life that has already disappeared her. Grief has a weight that cannot be measured but can be felt in every movement, every breath, every moment you are forced to continue existing when part of you has died. 3 days, that is how long it takes Mara to pack her entire life into whatever fits in her aging Honda Civic, clothes, books, her grandmother's jade bracelet, the small collection of things that make up an existence she is abandoning. Everything else she donates or leaves on the curb for strangers to claim. Let them have it. Let them have all the pieces of the girl who believed in fairy tales. She drives north before sunrise, before the city wakes, before she can change her mind. The mountains appear through morning fog like a promise of something cleaner, something untouched by Dominic Sterling's world. Pine Ridge looks exactly as she remembers from childhood summers. Weathered buildings, streets that smell like pine and wood smoke, a lake surrounded by forests that have seen better years but are still standing. Her aunt's cabin sits at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by wildflowers that have grown wherever they please since her aunt passed 3 years ago. The roof leaks. The plumbing groans. The windows stick, but it is hers, fully paid for, written into her name and her aunt's will. It represents safety in a world that has proven itself catastrophically unsafe. Mara finds work at Mountain View Diner the same day she arrives. The owner, Linda Brennan, takes one look at her and asks no questions, just hands her an apron and points to the tables that need serving. She takes evening shifts, answering phones for a local insurance agency. Her voice stays professional and detached while she schedules appointments for people whose biggest problems are fender benders and flood damage. On weekends, she cleans vacation rentals, scrubs toilets, changes sheets. Her back aches. Her body transforms into something unfamiliar, something that no longer belongs entirely to her. The pregnancy is brutal. Morning sickness that lasts all day, swelling that makes shoes impossible. Exhaustion so profound, she sometimes falls asleep standing up, her body simply shutting down mid-task. She is creating 2 humans. The ultrasound tech told her at 8 weeks, pointing to 2 tiny heartbeats flickering on the grainy screen. Twins. Her body is building 2 entire people from nothing, and it demands everything she has to give, then demands more. Linda notices, of course. Nothing happens in her diner without Linda Brennan knowing about it. One slow afternoon, she pushes a plate of food across the counter. "Sit down before you fall down," Linda says. "You are eating for 3 now, and I will not have you fainting in my restaurant." "I can pay for it," Mara starts, but Linda cuts her off. "I did not ask if you could pay. I said eat." Mara eats. Tears slide down her face without permission. Linda pretends not to notice, just keeps refilling her water glass and pushing napkins across the counter. Later, Linda tells her about the daughter she lost 5 years ago. Car accident, 23 years old, same age Mara is now. "I have all this love," Linda says, her voice matter-of-fact, "and nowhere to put it, so I am putting it here, with you. With those babies you are growing, and you are going to let me, 'cause you need it and I need to give it." Mara cannot speak through the tears, can only nod. And the twins come early on a September morning that starts with back pain Mara mistakes for exhaustion. She is cleaning a vacation rental alone, scrubbing someone else's kitchen floor when her water breaks. It soaks through her jeans and floods across the tiles she just mopped. For a moment, she just stares at the puddle spreading around her knees. Then pain hits, a contraction that feels like her body is tearing itself apart from the inside. She manages to call 911 before the next one doubles her over. The ambulance arrives in 12 minutes that feel like hours. The paramedics ask questions she can barely answer through contractions that leave her gasping. "How far along are you?" 34 weeks. "Is anyone meeting you at the hospital?" "No, there is no one." The admission hurts worse than the contractions. Ethan arrives first, tiny and perfect, and screaming his fury at the world. The doctor barely has time to hand him to a nurse before Lily follows 8 minutes later. Quieter, observant, Her eyes seem to see everything, even though the doctor says newborns cannot focus yet. They are too small. Their lungs are not fully developed. The nurse whisks them away to the intensive care unit. Before Mara can hold them, before she can touch their faces or count their fingers or tell them she is sorry they have to fight this hard just to breathe. Mara lives in the hospital waiting room for 2 weeks. She pumps breast milk every 3 hours in a closet-sized room that smells like antiseptic. She prays to God she does not believe in. She makes bargains with a universe that has never kept its promises. The medical bills accumulate like a mountain she will never climb, but all that matters is that her babies keep breathing. Ethan comes home first. A week later, Lily follows. Mara carries them into the cabin and understands that her life has fundamentally changed. She is responsible for 2 tiny humans who depend completely on her for survival, and no one is coming to help. She returns to work when the twins are 3 weeks old. Linda lets her bring them to the diner, sets up bassinets in the storage room, says babies belong with their mothers, and if any customer complains, they can eat somewhere else. Mara works through exhaustion that makes her hallucinate, works through cracked nipples and mastitis, works through physical pain that becomes so constant she stops noticing it. She works because stopping means failure, and failure means her children will suffer. 4 hours south, in the city Mara fled, Dominic Sterling marries Vanessa Park in a ceremony that makes international headlines. He stands at the altar in a church that seats 500, repeating vows that mean nothing. The words taste like ash in his mouth. He slides a platinum ring onto Vanessa's finger and feels absolutely nothing, except vast emptiness where his heart used to be. The reception costs more than most people earn in a lifetime. Crystal, champagne, a 7-tier cake. Dominic smiles for photographs while feeling nothing. Vanessa moves into the Sterling estate. Within a week, Dominic discovers his wife views their marriage as a transaction. She has her own bedroom, her own social calendar, her own life that occasionally intersects with his for public appearances and family obligations. Victoria approves completely, praises Vanessa's poise and social connections, tells Dominic he has made an excellent choice for the family. Late at night, when the mansion is quiet, Dominic sometimes stands at his bedroom window staring at nothing. He remembers Mara's face the moment he called their love meaningless. He crushes those memories immediately, tells himself he made the right choice, that personal happiness is a luxury people in his position cannot afford. But in dreams he cannot control, he hears Mara's voice asking him to tell her the truth. He wakes reaching for someone who is not there and never will be again. In Pine Ridge, Mara discovers that survival can become its own kind of strength. When Ethan screams for hours with colic, she walks him through the night while Lily sleeps peacefully in her crib. When Lily refuses to eat anything except applesauce for 2 weeks straight, Mara buys so much applesauce the store clerk asks if she is stocking a fallout shelter. When both babies get ear infections simultaneously and the pharmacy bill exceeds her grocery budget, she skips meals so they can have medicine. She learns she is capable of things she never imagined, that she can function on 3 hours of sleep, that she can soothe a crying baby while simultaneously preparing bottles and folding laundry, that she can love so fiercely it hurts, a physical ache in her chest every time she looks at her children. When the twins turn 1, Mara buys a cake from the grocery store. She sings happy birthday in the cabin while Ethan and Lily smash frosting into their hair. There are no guests, no celebration, just a mother and her babies in a tiny house by the mountains. But it is enough because they are together and they are surviving. That same week, Mara starts designing websites in the evenings after the twins go to sleep. She builds simple sites on her laptop for local businesses. Her first client is a woman opening a small bookstore. Mara creates something beautiful for $200. The woman posts about it on social media. Suddenly, Mara has 3 more clients, then 10, then 20. Chen Digital grows slowly but steadily. She expands into full marketing services, branding small businesses. With the same fierce attention to detail she applies to everything in her life. She has an eye for beauty on a budget, an ability to create magic from ordinary things. Her reputation spreads through the mountain towns like wildfire. By the time Ethan and Lily are 4, Mara has rented a small office downtown. She hires Tamara Brennan, Linda's daughter, as her assistant. They work together building something real, something that belongs entirely to them. Mara is no longer the girl who believed in fairy tales. She is harder now, tempered by years of struggle into someone who does not break easily. She teaches her children that love is action, not words. That family is what you build, not what you are born into. That sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones who hurt you most, but you survive anyway. One evening, while she tucks Ethan into bed, he asks the question she has been dreading. "Mama, why do not we have a dad?" Mara chooses her words carefully. "Your father was not strong enough to love you the way you deserve. But that is his loss, not yours. You and Lily are my everything, and we do not need anyone else to be complete." "Do we have a dad?" Lily asks from the other bed, her serious eyes watching Mara's face. "You have me," Mara says firmly, "and I am enough." She believes it too, most days. Believes she has built a good life from the wreckage of her heart. That her children will grow up whole and loved despite their father's absence. But late at night, when the cabin is quiet and her children sleep peacefully, Mara sometimes presses her hand against the window glass and remembers what it felt like to believe in love. Before she learned that some people can look you in the eye and lie so completely, the truth becomes a stranger. She has survived. She has built something beautiful from nothing. She has raised 2 perfect children alone. But she has never truly healed. And the scar tissue around her heart is thick enough to stop anything from touching her again. Until the day, years later, when the past walks back into her life and demands to be acknowledged. There are moments when your entire understanding of reality shifts, when you discover that the foundation you built your life upon was constructed from lies, and everything you thought you knew disintegrates into ash. Dominic Sterling experiences such a moment on his 35th birthday. He comes home early from meetings, planning to spend the evening alone as he has spent most evenings for the past 7 years. The Sterling mansion is quiet. Vanessa is supposedly at a charity luncheon. The staff has the day off. Dominic climbs the stairs to the master's suite, already loosening his tie, already thinking about the scotch waiting in his study. He opens the bedroom door and his entire world detonates. Vanessa is in their bed with another man. Not just any man, Marcus Chen, Mara's cousin. They scramble apart, sheets tangling, faces flushed and guilty. Dominic stands in the doorway and feels nothing except distant curiosity about why he is not more devastated. Perhaps because the marriage has been hollow from the beginning, a beautiful facade covering emptiness so profound it has its own gravity. "Dominic," Vanessa says, pulling the sheet around herself without any real shame in her expression, "you were supposed to be gone all day." Clearly. His voice is flat, detached. "How long has this been happening?" "Does it matter?" Vanessa stands, wrapping herself in a silk robe. "Our marriage has been a performance from the start. You knew that, I knew that. This changes nothing about the arrangement we have." The arrangement. Dominic tastes the words, finding them bitter but accurate. Marcus dresses quickly, his smugness barely concealed beneath a thin veneer of civility. "Dominic, if you had been any kind of real husband to her, she would not have needed to find satisfaction elsewhere. You have no one to blame but yourself." The urge to hit him rises and dies in the same breath. Dominic is tired. So profoundly exhausted by endless pretending that violence seems like too much effort to expend on someone so fundamentally irrelevant. "Get out of my house," Dominic says quietly, each word precise and cold. "Both of you, now." The divorce is spectacular in its ugliness. Vanessa hires lawyers who paint Dominic as emotionally absent, controlling, a husband who drove his wife into another man's arms through neglect and coldness. The tabloids feast on every detail. Society columnists dissect their marriage with gleeful cruelty. Dominic's reputation suffers. Vanessa positions herself as the wronged party, seeking freedom from a loveless union. Dominic does not care. He signs papers, attends depositions, lets his lawyers fight while he feels himself hollowing out further, becoming less human with each passing day. The only emotion he can reliably access is a dull, persistent rage at his own choices, at the life he has built on foundations of cowardice and social obligation. Then, 3 weeks into the divorce proceedings, Victoria suffers her stroke. Dominic finds her collapsed in her sitting room. Her face is twisted, slack on one side. Her body crumpled like something broken and discarded. For the first time in years, he feels genuine fear punch through the numbness. She is his mother, cold and controlling and impossible, but she is also the only constant in his life, and losing her would mean floating completely untethered in a world he no longer understands. She survives, but the stroke leaves her partially paralyzed. Her speech is slurred and difficult, her right side weak and uncooperative. Dominic visits the hospital every day. He sits beside her bed while she sleeps or stares at him with eyes that hold something he has never seen in them before. Regret. Deep, corrosive regret that seems to eat at her from the inside. One evening, after the nurses leave them alone, Victoria begins to cry. Tears slide down the slack side of her face while she struggles to form words through damaged neural pathways that no longer obey her commands. Dominic. His name comes out thick, almost incomprehensible. He has to lean close to understand. Need to tell you something, cannot wait any longer. Mother, rest. We can talk when you are stronger. No. Her good hand grips his wrist with surprising strength, fingers digging into his skin with desperate urgency. Cannot wait. Might be dying soon. Must tell you before I face judgment for what I did. You are not dying. The doctor said you will recover. Am dying inside. Have been dying inside for years. And I cannot meet God with this sin on my soul. Cannot leave this world without confessing what I destroyed. Dominic leans closer. His chest tightens with something that feels like dread crawling up his spine with cold fingers. Victoria's confession emerges in broken fragments, each word a struggle, each sentence a new revelation that shatters his understanding of the past 7 years. A woman named Mara Chen, pregnant with his child. Trying desperately to reach him through phone calls and messages that grew increasingly frantic. Jennifer Wu blocking every attempt at contact, intercepting every message. Paid handsomely by Victoria to ensure Dominic never knew about the pregnancy. Victoria's voice cracks as she admits orchestrating the entire conspiracy. Protecting the family from what she considered a disastrous entanglement. Preserving the merger with Vanessa's family that had been years in the making. I destroyed your happiness, Victoria whispers, her tears flowing freely now, mixing with the drool that escapes from the paralyzed corner of her mouth. Stole your children from you. Stole your chance at real love, at a genuine life. All to protect our name, our position, our precious social standing. And for what? Your marriage is over. You are miserable. You hate your life. I ruined everything that mattered for things that do not matter at all. Dominic sits frozen as his mother's words detonate his understanding of reality. Mara had tried to tell him. She had been pregnant with his child, maybe multiple children. Reaching out for help while he remained oblivious, protected from the truth by conspirators who believed they knew better than he did what his life should be. Where is she now? Jack's voice comes from somewhere far away, hollow and strange in his own ears. I do not know. She disappeared completely, vanished without a trace. I tried to find her later, after you married Vanessa, because I started to understand what I had done. But she was gone. I am so sorry, my son. I am so terribly, unforgivably sorry for what I stole from you. Dominic leaves the hospital in a daze. His mind cannot process the magnitude of what he has learned, the scope of the betrayal that has shaped his entire adult life. He drives to his office at midnight, stands outside Jennifer Wu's locked door. His hands shake with a rage so pure it feels like clarity, like the first honest emotion he has experienced in years. She arrives the next morning to find him waiting in her office, sitting in her chair. He used his master key to enter during the night. Mr. Sterling. Jennifer's surprise quickly smooths into professional composure. Her face arranges itself into practiced neutrality. I was not expecting you this early. Is there something you need? Tell me about Mara Chen. Something flickers behind her eyes, quick as lightning, but her expression remains carefully neutral. I'm afraid I do not recall that name offhand. Perhaps if you provided more context. Do not lie to me. Not now. Not about this. Dominic's voice is dangerously quiet, each word sharp enough to cut. My mother told me everything. The phone calls you blocked. the messages you intercepted, the money she paid you to keep Mara away from me, to ensure I never knew about the pregnancy. Jennifer sits down slowly. Dominic watches the calculation happening behind her face. She is weighing options, deciding whether denial or admission serves her interests better. She chooses admission. I did what was necessary for the family, she says. No apology in her tone, no hint of remorse coloring her words. That woman was completely unsuitable for someone of your position and standing. She would have ruined everything your mother built over decades. I protected you from making a catastrophic mistake that would have destroyed your life. She was pregnant. Dominic's voice shakes despite his best efforts to control it. You knew she was carrying my child, and you kept that information from me. You decided without my knowledge or consent that my own children were not worth knowing about. I kept you from making a decision based on misplaced obligation rather than rational thought. If you had known about the pregnancy, you would have felt compelled to do the honorable thing, would have destroyed the merger that was crucial to your future, would have tied yourself permanently to someone so far beneath your station that your reputation would never have recovered. I made the hard choice so you would not have to. Dominic stares at this woman who has worked for him for years, who has answered his calls and managed his schedule, and apparently decided she had the right to control his entire life, to determine who was worthy of him and who was not. You are fired, he says. The words cold and final as a death sentence. Security will escort you out within the hour. You will receive no severance, no recommendation, nothing. If you ever contact me or anyone in my family again, if you ever speak about Mara or this situation to anyone, I will destroy you so thoroughly and completely, you will wish you had never been born. Sir, you are making a mistake. That woman will ruin you. No, I made a mistake trusting you, trusting my mother, trusting that the people around me had my best interests at heart. Now get out of my sight before I do something I will regret. After she leaves, Dominic sits alone in his office. He is surrounded by the trappings of success that suddenly feel meaningless. He tries to understand how many lives have been altered by his mother's interference and his own fundamental cowardice. Somewhere out there, possibly not far away, Mara is living a life he knows nothing about, possibly raising his child alone, hating him with a hatred he absolutely deserves and has earned through his weakness. He begins searching that afternoon, hires private investigators who specialize in finding people who do not want to be found, conducts internet deep dives, checks every database and social media platform, tracks down anyone who might have known Mara in the city before she vanished. His sister Rachel joins the search when he tells her what happened. She cries, admits she always knew Dominic loved Mara in a way he had never loved anyone before or since, had seen him happier during those 11 months than any other time in his life. I should have fought harder against Mother, Rachel says, her voice thick with guilt that mirrors his own. I should have stood up for you, for Mara, for what was right instead of what was expected. I was a coward too, and I am so sorry. We were all cowards, Dominic says bitterly. The words taste like poison, and Mara paid the price for our collective weakness. The divorce finalizes after 8 months of warfare. It costs Dominic a fortune he barely notices. Losing money means nothing when your entire life is revealed to be built on betrayals and lies. When you understand that every choice you made was wrong. He becomes obsessed with finding Mara, not just from guilt, but from the devastating realization that she had been the only genuine thing in his carefully constructed existence, and he destroyed her because he was too weak to stand up to his mother's expectations, too cowardly to choose love over approval. Late at night, Dominic looks at photographs from those 11 months they were together, images he has hidden but never deleted, because he cannot bring himself to erase the only proof that he was once capable of real feeling. Mara laughing at something he said, her joy so pure and uncomplicated it hurts to witness. Mara sleeping peacefully in his bed, her face relaxed and trusting in ways that now seem impossibly naive. Mara looking at him with love so complete it had terrified him into running towards safety. He had chosen comfort over courage, approval over authenticity, the easy path over the right one. And now he is drowning in the consequences of those choices, suffocating under the weight of his own cowardice. Victoria recovers enough to return home, She is confined to a wheelchair. Her speech improved, but still slurred around the edges. She watches Dominic with haunted eyes, understanding she has destroyed her son's chance at happiness, and there is no undoing the damage, no making right what she has made so terribly wrong. "Find her," Victoria says one evening when Dominic visits, her speech better now but still labored. "Find Mara and beg her forgiveness on your knees if you must. Make this right if you possibly can. And if I cannot make it right, then you will live with what we did for the rest of your life, just as I will. But at least try. At least give her the chance to tell you herself how thoroughly we destroyed her." Dominic hires more investigators, expands the search nationwide, refuses to accept that Mara has simply vanished into nothing. She is out there somewhere, living a life he forced her into through his weakness, possibly raising his child alone, hating him with perfect justification. The thought of missing years of his own child's life makes him physically ill. Bile rises in his throat every time he imagines a son or daughter growing up without knowing their father exists. He will find her. He will explain what happened. Will lay bare the conspiracy that kept them apart. He will beg forgiveness he does not deserve, and try to be the father he should have been from the beginning. But first, he has to find where she went when his betrayal destroyed her world and forced her to rebuild from nothing. Some prayers get answered in ways that feel more like punishment than blessing, delivering exactly what you begged for while destroying everything you built to survive without it. Dominic finds Mara at a business expo in a mountain town he has never heard of, until his investigators locate a woman matching her description, running a successful digital marketing company in a place called Pine Ridge. He stands in the convention hall of the Pine Ridge Community Center watching her work, and his heart stops beating for several seconds. Maybe longer. She is different, fundamentally, irrevocably different. Harder than he remembers. Her movements precise and confident. Her interactions with clients professional, but lacking the natural warmth he fell in love with. She wears a navy blazer that emphasizes strength rather than softness. Her hair pulled back in a severe style that makes her cheekbones sharp and her eyes harder. Her entire presence radiates a competence born from years of fighting battles alone and winning through sheer force of will. She is the most beautiful thing he has ever seen. And she looks at him like he is death itself, walking toward her through the crowded room. Their eyes meet across the space filled with strangers and vendor booths. Dominic watches every emotion flash across her face in rapid succession. Shock first, her eyes widening in disbelief that he is actually standing there. Then pain, raw and immediate, cutting across her features like a knife. Rage follows, hot and bright, transforming her face into something fierce and dangerous. Finally, a cold mask slams into place with such force he feels it like a physical blow across the distance separating them. Then Mara looks away, says something sharp to the woman beside her, walks quickly toward a side exit, her entire body language screaming rejection. Dominic follows without thinking, his body moving before his mind can process the implications or consequences. He catches up to her in the hallway outside the restrooms, calls her name. Mara. She freezes in place as though his voice has turned her to stone. She turns slowly, every movement deliberate and controlled. When she finally faces him fully, her voice could have frozen fire in its tracks. "You need to leave right now." "I know I am the last person you want to see," Dominic says, the words tumbling out too fast. "But, please, just give me 5 minutes to explain what happened. 5 minutes, and then I will leave if that is what you want." "Explain what?" Her laugh is bitter and sharp enough to draw blood. "Explain how you announced your engagement to my best friend days after telling me you loved me. Explain how you let your mother and your fiancé humiliate me in front of hundreds of people while you stood there silent as a statue. Explain how you called what we had meaningless when you knew it was everything to me. There is nothing you can explain that will change what you did." "My mother and my assistant conspired to keep you away from me after that night." Dominic's voice shakes. "I only found out months ago that you tried to contact me, that they blocked every message and threatened you with legal action. I swear on everything I am, I did not know you were trying to reach me. I do not care." The words come out flat and final, each one a door slamming in his face. "Your mother could not have manipulated you if you had possessed an ounce of courage or integrity to begin with." The betrayal started the moment you chose your family's approval over me, the moment you stood on that stage and announced your engagement knowing I would be there. Everything after that was just consequences flowing from that first fundamental act of cowardice. Dominic feels the truth of her words like knives sliding between his ribs, each one finding its mark with perfect accuracy. You are completely right. I was a coward. I chose what was easy and safe over what was real and true. And I have spent every day since regretting that choice. But I am here now, and I am asking for a chance to make this right. Good. Mara's eyes are hard as diamonds, glittering with rage that has been banked for years but never extinguished. I hope you regret it for the rest of your life. I hope it haunts you every single day until you die. I hope you never forget what you destroyed, never stop seeing my face when you close your eyes at night. I want to make this right. Please tell me how to make this right. There is no making it right. There is no going back. There is only moving forward with the life I built from the pieces you left me with. The life I created from nothing while you were playing house with your perfect wife in your perfect mansion. Movement catches Dominic's attention. He looks past Mara to see Tamara guiding two young children toward the exit. His breath stops completely. His lungs forget how to function. The children are young, maybe 5 or 6. And even from a distance, even through the crowd, Dominic can see himself reflected in their faces. The shape of their features, the way the boy holds his head at a slight angle, the serious expression on the girl's face that mirrors Dominic's own childhood photographs. Are those my children? The question comes out broken, barely a whisper, his voice failing him completely. Mara's mask cracks for just a second, revealing pain so profound and bone-deep that Dominic wants to fall to his knees. Then it seals again, harder and more impenetrable than before. They are my children. Mine, you have no claim to them, no right to them, no connection to them at all. Mara, please, those are my children. You gave up any right to them when you stood silent at that gala and let your family destroy me. You gave up any right when you called our love nothing in front of everyone. Now stay away from us, or I will get a restraining order so fast it will make your head spin. I will make sure you cannot come within 1,000 feet of my children. She walks away. Dominic stands frozen in the hallway while his entire world rearranges itself around a truth he can barely comprehend. A reality so massive it threatens to crush him under its weight. He has children, 2 beautiful children he has never held, never known about, never been given the chance to love. Twins, judging by their similar appearance and size. And their mother hates him with a hatred so pure and justified that he has no defense against it. No argument that could penetrate her armor. Dominic walks outside in time to see Mara loading the children into a car, her movements quick and efficient. He moves toward them without thinking, calling her name. She turns with fury blazing in her eyes like fire. Do not come near my children. Our children, Dominic says. The words barely make it past the constriction in his throat. Mara, those are our children. I have a right to know them. They are my children. Mara's voice shakes, but her stance is solid. I carried them alone in my body while you married someone else and smiled for wedding photographers. I gave birth to them alone in a hospital room while you were on your honeymoon with your perfect wife. I raised them alone while you played at being a husband to a woman you did not love. You made your choice, Dominic. You chose your family's approval and your comfortable life over me and any future we could have had. Now live with the consequences of that choice. I did not know. His voice breaks completely, shattering into pieces that match his heart. I swear on everything I am, everything I have ever been, I did not know you were pregnant. If I had known, if anyone had told me, I would have been there. I would have fought for you, for them, for us. I would have burned my entire life down to be with you. You should have fought for me anyway. Mara's voice carries years of accumulated rage, rage that has nowhere to go until this moment. I should have been worth fighting for, even without being pregnant. But I was not, was I? I was just something to keep you entertained. Something to make you feel alive until the real part of your life began. I was never real to you. None of it was real. That is not true. You were the realest thing in my life. You were the only real thing I had ever experienced. Then you are even weaker than I thought because you threw away the realest thing in your life for approval from people who did not actually care about your happiness or well-being. You sold your soul for comfort, and I paid the price for your cowardice. Dominic watches her get in the car, watches his children peer at him through the window with confused curiosity in their identical faces. Feels something inside him shatter so completely, he will never be whole again. The car pulls away, taillights disappearing down the mountain road. Dominic stands alone in the parking lot of a community center in a town he has never been to before, understanding that finding her was just the beginning of a much longer and infinitely more painful journey. Because she is right about everything, he has been weak. He chose comfort over courage, approval over love, safety over risk. He took the easy path and destroyed the only thing that had ever truly mattered. And now he has to find a way to prove he is not that man anymore, that he can be the father his children deserve and somehow, impossibly, earn back even a fraction of Mara's trust. The mountain air is cold against his face. Dominic feels it all the way through to his bones, feels it settling into the hollow spaces where his heart used to be. He has found his family. Now he has to figure out how to become worthy of them, how to transform himself into someone capable of the courage he lacked when it mattered most. Obsession and love wear the same face. Sometimes, the only difference is whether the object of that devotion wants you back or is running as fast as they can in the opposite direction. Dominic rents a house in Pine Ridge the day after finding Mara, cancels every commitment, ignores every call from his office and the life he left behind. The rental overlooks the town. From the upper windows, he can see the street where Mara lives with their children. Can watch Ethan and Lily play in their small front yard when they come home from school. He knows it looks like stalking. Knows he is behaving exactly like the kind of person who gets restraining orders filed against them. He does not care. Every other priority in his life has evaporated the moment he saw his children, leaving only this singular, desperate need to be near them, to understand who they are, to somehow find a way into their lives. Every morning before dawn, Dominic positions himself where he can see his children leave for school. He learns their routines with obsessive attention to detail, their habits and patterns becoming his entire world. The way Ethan walks with confidence and energy, practically bouncing down the street. How Lily seems more cautious and observant, watching everything before acting. How they take the bus together, Ethan carrying both their backpacks, even though Lily protests. How they hold hands crossing the street, an unconscious gesture of protection and connection. He is a ghost haunting the edges of their lives. And the pain of proximity without actual connection is exquisite in its intensity, a constant ache that never diminishes. Mara notices immediately, of course. She is too smart and too vigilant not to see him everywhere she goes. She begins changing routes, varying schedules, doing everything possible to avoid him. One morning, she appears at his rental house before dawn, her fury barely contained behind a facade of cold control. "Stop following us." Dominic stands in his doorway, unshaven and exhausted from another sleepless night. "I am not following you. I am just existing in the same town, trying to understand the lives I should have been part of. You are watching our house like some kind of predator. You show up everywhere we go. You are scaring my children, and I will not tolerate it for another second. I have not approached them. I have not spoken to them. I have maintained distance. I am just trying to understand who they are, what they like, how they move through the world. They are none of your business." Mara's voice shakes with rage that threatens to break through her control. "I built a life here, where we are safe and happy and free from people like you. You brought your poison into it, contaminated everything with your presence. Leave, Dominic. Go back to your city and your empire and your empty life, and leave us alone to live ours. They are my children. Biology does not make you a father. Mara's words cut like razors. Being there makes you a father. Loving them when it costs you something makes you a father. Showing up every single day, regardless of how hard it gets, makes you a father. You have done none of those things. You are a stranger who happens to share their DNA. Nothing more. Because I did not know they existed. Because your attempts to contact me were deliberately blocked by people who decided they knew better than I did what my life should be. You did not know because you chose not to know. You chose a woman you did not love over making sure I was okay after you destroyed me in that ballroom. You chose your mother's approval over taking 5 minutes to call me yourself and see if I was all right. Every choice you made, every decision where you took the easy path, led directly to this moment where you are standing in front of me claiming victimhood. But you are not a victim, Dominic. You are the architect of your own disaster. And now you want me to feel sorry for you because your choices had consequences. Dominic has no defense because she is completely, devastatingly right. Every decision has been his own. Every act of cowardice has rippled outward into consequences that cannot be undone. And those consequences are standing in front of him, refusing to let him near the children he never knew about. Tell me what I need to do, he says quietly, each word costing him something. Tell me how to prove I have changed, that I am not the man I was back then. There is nothing you can do. Some damage cannot be repaired. Some trust cannot be rebuilt once it is shattered. You taught me that love is a lie people tell to manipulate you into vulnerability. And I will not let you teach that same poisonous lesson to my children. They are happy. They are whole. They do not need you coming into their lives and destroying the security I have spent years building for them. She leaves before he can respond. Dominic stands watching her walk away down the gravel road, understanding that proximity is not enough, that being in the same town as his children while being forbidden from knowing them is its own special variety of torture designed specifically for his sins. This situation deteriorates rapidly when reporters arrive. A tabloid journalist named Felix Cross publishes an article with the headline "Billionaire's Secret Shame, Dominic Sterling's Abandoned Children." The article is detailed and vicious, naming Mara and the children explicitly, publishing photos of them at school and around town, painting Dominic as a man who hid his illegitimate children from society while maintaining his public image. The story is designed for maximum damage and it works perfectly. Within hours, the article goes viral. By morning, Pine Ridge is invaded by reporters and photographers, all desperate for additional details, for interviews, for anything that would feed the insatiable beast of public curiosity. They camp outside Mara's house with telephoto lenses and recording equipment. They follow her to work, shouting questions she refuses to answer. They try to interview her clients and friends, promising money for any information about Dominic Sterling's secret family. Chin Digital's business begins suffering immediately. Clients cancel contracts, uncomfortable with the media attention surrounding their event coordinator. Parents at school whisper and point, pull their children away from Ethan and Lily as though scandal were contagious. The safe, quiet life Mara spent 7 years building is being torn apart by exposure to Dominic's world, exactly as she always feared. She confronts him outside his rental house the next evening. Her fury makes everything that came before seem mild by comparison. This is your fault. All of this is directly your fault. This is what happens when you force your way into our lives against our will. You brought this nightmare here with your presence. And now my children are being photographed and followed and scared because reporters want a story about your redemption. Are you satisfied? Is this what you wanted when you decided to play at being a father? I did not contact any media. I would never expose them like this. Someone else must have leaked this story, probably someone from my past trying to hurt me. I do not care who leaked it or why. It happened because of you. Because you could not just leave us alone when I asked you to. We were fine before you showed up. We were happy and safe and whole. And now everything is falling apart, crumbling under the weight of your world crashing into ours, and my children are paying the price for your sins. Let me fix this. Please, let me use whatever resources I have to make this stop. You cannot fix this. You cannot fix anything. Everything you touch turns to poison, Dominic. Everything you involve yourself in becomes contaminated. And I was stupid and naive to think you had changed at all. To believe for even a second that you were different from the man who destroyed me 7 years ago. You are the same selfish coward you always were. Just with better excuses and a more convincing performance. Her words land like physical blows, each one finding its mark with devastating accuracy. But Dominic knows he deserves every syllable. His presence has brought chaos into her carefully controlled world. Their children are suffering for it, paying for his mistakes. That night, Dominic makes a decision that feels like the first honest choice he has made in years. He cannot change what has already happened, cannot undo the damage his appearance caused, but he can control what comes next. He will hold a press conference. He will tell the complete, unvarnished truth without spin or careful language. He will own every mistake publicly and use whatever power and influence he has left to protect his children from further exposure. It is the absolute least he can do, and possibly the only thing that might prove tomorrow that he is finally, actually, capable of choosing courage over comfort when it truly matters, even if it costs him everything he has left, which is not much anyway. Terror comes in many forms, but the worst kind is watching your child suffer and being completely powerless to stop it, to fix it, to take their pain into your own body where it belongs. Mara knows something is catastrophically wrong when Ethan wakes up covered in bruises that appeared overnight like some kind of terrible magic. Dark purple marks blooming across his arms and legs and torso like poisonous flowers. He is exhausted in a way that sleep does not fix. His usual boundless energy replaced by a lethargy that frightens her down to her bones. "Mama, I do not feel good," Ethan says, his voice small and scared in a way she has never heard before. Lily hovers nearby, her serious eyes full of worry for her brother, picking up on the tension radiating from their mother. "Is Ethan sick? Is he going to be okay?" "We are going to the doctor right now," Mara says, forcing calm into her voice while terror screams through every nerve ending. "Just to be safe and make sure everything is fine." The emergency room doctor takes one look at Ethan's symptoms and orders immediate comprehensive blood work. Mara sits in the sterile waiting room, holding Lily close, while her mind spins through every horrible possibility she has ever read about or heard whispered, each scenario worse than the last. When the doctor returns after what feels like hours, but is probably only 40 minutes, his face tells her everything she needs to know before he speaks a single word. "We need to talk about your son's test results, privately if possible." Mara asks Tamara, who rushed to the hospital the moment she heard, to take Lily to the cafeteria. Then she sits in the small conference room and listens to words that feel like they are destroying her entire world. Acute myeloid leukemia, aggressive form, requiring immediate treatment. Chemotherapy starting within days. Bone marrow transplant likely necessary for long-term survival. Mara stops hearing individual words after a while, her mind unable to process that her healthy, vibrant, perfect son has cancer, that his own body is betraying him from the inside, that she might actually lose him despite all her years of fierce protection. "Is my brother going to die?" Lily asks later, her small voice cutting through Mara's shock when they are reunited in Ethan's hospital room. "No," Mara says with absolute fierce certainty, pulling both children close against her body. "Ethan is going to fight this disease, and we are going to fight with him, and he is going to be completely fine, I promise you both." But the doctors explain with gentle clinical precision that Lily is not a bone marrow match, that they need to test biological parents next because parental donors offer significantly better odds of compatibility, that every day they wait decreases Ethan's chances of full recovery. Mara sits in the hospital conference room after Ethan finally falls asleep, staring at the wall, facing an impossible choice that feels designed specifically to torture her. She can let her pride and rage potentially cost her son's life, or she can call the man who destroyed her and ask him for help, thereby giving him the opening into their lives she swore would never exist. "You have to call him," Tamara says gently, sitting beside her and taking her hand. "I know you hate him. I know what he did was unforgivable in every possible way. But Ethan needs him. Your son's life is more important than your pride or your justified anger." I cannot. Mara's voice breaks into pieces. I cannot ask Dominic for anything. I cannot give him this chance to worm his way back into our lives. Once I call him, once he knows about this, I will never be free of him again. This is not about you or Dominic or what happened between you. This is about saving your son's life. Nothing else matters. Not your pride, not your rage, not your fear. Only Ethan matters right now. Mara looks at her son through the window, separating them, his small body hooked up to machines and monitors, his face pale against the white hospital pillow. She understands with devastating clarity that motherhood means sacrificing absolutely everything, including her pride and her carefully maintained walls, for her children's survival. She makes the call, her hand shaking so badly she can barely hold the phone. Dominic answers on the second ring, his voice weary. Mara, Ethan is sick. The words come out broken and raw. He has leukemia. He needs a bone marrow transplant, and Lily is not a match. The doctors say biological parents offer the best chance of compatibility. I need you to come get tested as soon as possible. Silence stretches across the connection for several heartbeats. Then Dominic's voice emerges, rough with emotion. I am on my way right now. Text me the hospital address. I will be there as fast as humanly possible. He arrives within hours, still wearing the clothes he was in when she called, looking like he aged several years during the flight north. Mara meets him in the hospital lobby. For the first time since he reappeared in her life, like a ghost from a past she tried to bury, she sees genuine fear in his eyes that mirrors her own. Where is he? Can I see him? You need to get tested first. They need your blood work before anything else can happen. Dominic submits to the testing without hesitation or questions. Then they wait in a silence that feels heavier than any words could possibly be. When the doctor returns with results after what feels like an eternity, Mara watches Dominic's face transform as he learns he is a nearly perfect match, that he can actually save their son's life. I can save him, Dominic says, wonder and grief and desperate relief mixing in his voice. I can actually save my son. The transplant is scheduled as quickly as medical protocols allow. Dominic refuses to leave the hospital during the entire preparation and procedure. He stays in waiting rooms that reek of disinfectant and fear. He brings Mara coffee she is too anxious to drink and food she cannot imagine eating. He tries to offer comfort she will not accept, respecting her boundaries while making his presence felt. After the successful procedure, when Ethan is stable and sleeping peacefully under heavy medication, Dominic finally meets his children properly for the first time in Ethan's hospital room. Ethan is weak but alert enough for conversation, his eyes curious as he studies the stranger sitting carefully beside his bed. You are the person who gave me your bone marrow, Ethan says with childlike directness. The doctor said you saved my life. I am. And I would give you absolutely anything you needed, anything at all. Why would you do that for someone you do not know? Dominic glances at Mara, asking silent permission. She gives a small, reluctant nod. Because I am your father, I did not know about you and your sister for a very long time. And that is entirely my fault and my failure. But now that I know you exist, now that I have met you, I want to be part of your lives. If you will let me. If your mother will let me. Lily, sitting protectively on the other side of Ethan's bed, speaks up with the serious tone she always uses when asking important questions. Where were you before? Why were you not there when we were born? The question hangs in the air between them. Dominic does not look away from his children's identical faces, does not hide behind easy lies or comfortable excuses. I was being a coward. I was scared of doing the right thing because it was hard and would cost me things I thought were important. So I did the easy thing instead, the comfortable thing. And that choice meant I was not there when you were born. I missed so much of your lives. That is something I will regret for the rest of my life, every single day. Did you hurt our mama? Lily asks, her protectiveness toward Mara evident despite her young years. Yes. I hurt her very badly in ways that cannot be easily explained. She has every right to be angry with me, to hate me, to want me nowhere near any of you. Ethan processes this information with the straightforward logic of children who have not yet learned to hide behind polite fiction. Are you sorry for what you did? More sorry than I have words to properly explain or express. Okay, Ethan yawns, exhaustion pulling at him, despite the importance of the conversation. You can stay here until I fall asleep if you want, if that is okay with Mama. Dominic looks at Mara one more time, asking permission without words. She gives another small nod that feels like it costs her something vital. He stays, reading to Ethan in a quiet voice until the boy drifts off into medicated sleep. Mara watches this man who destroyed her sitting beside their son with such evident tenderness it physically hurts to witness. Later, when both children are finally asleep and Dominic has stepped out to give her space, Mara lets herself cry for the first time since the diagnosis. She cries for Ethan's illness and the terror of almost losing him. She cries for the impossible choice she was forced to make. She cries for the complicated relief that Dominic had been able to save their son when no one else could. But she also cries because saving Ethan's life does not erase the past, does not heal her wounds, does not make Dominic suddenly trustworthy or safe or worthy of the trust her children are already offering him with heartbreaking innocence. When Dominic returns to find her crying, he stands in the doorway without approaching, without trying to comfort her, just bearing witness to her pain without trying to fix it or make it about himself. "Thank you," Mara says finally, her voice raw from crying. "Thank you for saving him. Thank you for being a match. Thank you for coming when I called. You do not need to thank me. He is my son. This is what fathers do. Saving his life does not change anything between us. It does not mean I forgive you or trust you or want you in our lives permanently. I know that. I still do not trust you. I still have not forgiven you for what you did to me. I know that too. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But the children deserve to know their father if you are actually serious about being one and not just playing at it until the novelty wears off." Dominic's expression transforms with something that looks like desperate hope struggling against resignation. "I am completely serious. I will do whatever it takes to prove that to you and to them. Whatever it takes, for however long it takes. Then prove it, not with words that mean nothing, with actions that matter. Show up consistently. Be reliable. Put them first, even when it is inconvenient or difficult. And maybe, eventually, I will believe you are capable of it." It is the smallest possible opening, barely a crack in the armor she has built around herself and her children. But Dominic takes it like a drowning man grabbing a rope thrown from shore. Mara sees him understand that this is his one chance to be the father he should have been from the very beginning. Ethan's recovery will take months of careful monitoring and follow-up treatment, but he will survive. The transplant has been successful beyond what the doctors initially hoped for. And now Dominic will have to survive the much harder test of proving himself worthy of his children's trust and love over time, through consistent action rather than empty promises. Forgiveness is not a single act but an accumulation of small surrenders over time. And some wounds resist healing no matter how much you want them to close and stop bleeding. Dominic moves into his Pine Ridge rental house permanently, transforming the temporary shelter into something resembling an actual home rather than just a place to sleep. He learns to cook simple meals that his children might enjoy, stocks the pantry with foods appropriate for children, prepares a bedroom with 2 twin beds in case they are ever allowed to stay overnight. Mara agrees to supervised visits after Ethan's initial recovery stabilizes, one afternoon each week with conditions so strict they feel like legal contracts. No gifts that look like bribes to buy affection. No promises he might not keep that would disappoint them. No attempts to undermine her authority or contradict her parenting decisions. Any sign that the children are confused or distressed by his presence will end the arrangement immediately and permanently. Dominic accepts every condition without argument or negotiation, understanding he is being granted something precious and fragile that could be snatched away if he makes a single wrong move. The first visit happens at a public park with Tamara serving as supervisor and mediator. Ethan and Lily are shy initially, unsure how to interact with this stranger who is somehow their father. This man who saved Ethan's life but has not been part of theirs before. Dominic brings a soccer ball and asks if they want to play together, engaging them through action and shared activity rather than forcing awkward conversation or demanding emotional connection that has not been earned. Ethan warms to him gradually over that first afternoon, asking questions about where Dominic lives and what he does during his days. Lily remains more guarded and suspicious, watching Dominic carefully for any hint of threat or deception, any sign that he might hurt their mother again. "Do you have other kids besides us?" Ethan asks during a water break, his question innocent but cutting. "No, just you and your sister. You are my only children." "Why did you not know about us before?" The question is asked with childlike directness, without understanding how deeply it cuts. Dominic chooses honesty over comfortable fiction that might protect him. "Because I made terrible choices when I was younger. I hurt your mama very badly through my weakness and cowardice. And I was too much of a coward afterward to make sure she was okay. That meant I missed finding out about you until very recently. I will regret that for the rest of my life." "That was really dumb," Ethan says, with the blunt assessment only children can deliver without malice. "It was. It was the dumbest, worst thing I have ever done in my entire life." Lily speaks up, her voice carrying weight beyond her years. "Mama cries sometimes at night when she thinks we do not know or cannot hear her. She tries to hide it, but we can tell. Did you make her cry like that?" Dominic feels the question like a physical blow to his chest, stealing his breath. "Yes, I made her cry many times. I am sorrier about that than anything else in my life, sorrier than I have words to express properly." "You should tell her you are sorry." "I have told her many times. But some things are too big and terrible for sorry to fix. Some damage cannot be repaired just by apologizing. So instead, I am trying to show her through my actions over time that I have changed, that I am not the same person I was when I hurt her." The visits continue over subsequent weeks. Dominic learns his children in small, careful increments. Ethan loves space and dinosaurs, and anything to do with ancient history, asking endless questions about stars and planets and creatures that have been extinct for millions of years. Lily is artistic and deeply intuitive, drawing pictures of things she observes and somehow capturing emotional truths in stick figures and bright crayon colors. Dominic brings books about astronomy and art supplies in their next visits, not expensive gifts designed to buy affection, but thoughtful responses to who his children actually are as individual people. He learns that Ethan is naturally fearless and impulsive, while Lily is cautious and analytical. That they protect each other fiercely with an intensity that transcends normal sibling bonds. That they share an entire private language of looks and gestures that comes from being twins who have only ever had each other. He falls in love with them so completely and profoundly it physically hurts, an ache in his chest that never entirely goes away. Meanwhile, his continued absence from his former life has entirely predictable consequences. Raymond Coulter, his second-in-command, calls repeatedly with increasingly urgent warnings about hostile takeover attempts, about board members losing confidence in Dominic's leadership, about major investors demanding his immediate return or threatening to pull their support. "You need to come back to the city right now," Raymond insists during one late-night phone call that Dominic almost does not answer. "Everything we built together over years is falling apart. Marcus Chen has successfully orchestrated a coordinated attack, and without you here to counter his narrative and reassure people, he is going to win. You are going to lose everything." "Then let it all fall apart," Dominic says calmly, watching his children play through the park fence during their scheduled visit. "Let Marcus have the company. I miss 6 irreplaceable years of their lives. I am not missing another single day for buildings and money and power that mean absolutely nothing compared to them. This company is your legacy, everything you worked for. No, they are my legacy. My children are my legacy. Everything else is just money and buildings and ego. None of it actually matters. I understand that now in a way I never did before." He ends the call before Raymond can argue further. Days later, he learns through a terse legal notification that he has lost control of the company he founded and built. that Marcus Chen has successfully orchestrated a takeover that removed Dominic from any leadership position. When Mara hears about this development through mutual connections in their overlapping social circles, she shows up at his house unannounced one evening after the children are in bed. "You lost your company, everything you built. I chose my children over a company. There is an important difference between losing something and choosing to let it go." Something flickers across her expression. Too quick for Dominic to properly identify or interpret. The old Dominic, the man I knew before, would never have chosen anything over his professional success and reputation. Never. I am not that man anymore. I cannot be that man anymore. He was weak and cowardly, and he destroyed everything that mattered for things that did not matter at all. People do not change that fundamentally. Not really. Not in ways that last. Then watch me every single day, and I will prove you wrong through consistent action over time. She leaves without another word. But Dominic notices over the following week that the visits are quietly extended to 2 afternoons per week, and Tamara's supervision becomes gradually less intrusive and more relaxed. The fragile progress they have been building explodes catastrophically when Lily gets into a serious physical fight at school with a boy who called her an Ethan Bastards, who said they had a deadbeat father who only showed up when it was convenient, who made their mother cry. Mara is called to the principal's office to discuss the incident. When she arrives, still shaking with protective fury, Dominic is already there because the school contacted him as well. The principal suggests family counseling to address the underlying issues. Mara and Dominic meet with Lily together in a small conference room that smells like industrial cleaner and anxiety. Their daughter breaks down crying in a way neither of them has seen before, admitting she is angry and confused about everything. About having a father now, but remembering years of being sad when other kids had dads at their games and events, while she and Ethan had no one. Dominic kneels directly in front of Lily, his voice steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm him and break through his careful control. "Your anger is completely fair and justified. I deserve every bit of it and more. You do not have to forgive me for missing those years, for not being there when you needed a father. Because I do not forgive myself. I will never forgive myself for that failure. But I promise you, from this moment until forever, I will be here. I will show up for you and your brother. You can be angry with me while still being loved by me. Those two things can exist together." Lily throws herself into Dominic's arms without warning, sobbing against his shoulder. Dominic holds his daughter while meeting Mara's eyes over Lily's shaking body. He sees something crack and shift in her carefully maintained defenses, sees her witnessing him choose their daughter's emotional well-being over his own comfort and need for absolution. That evening, after the children finally go to bed exhausted from emotion, Mara asks Dominic to stay rather than leaving immediately. They sit on her porch overlooking the dark lake. She speaks without looking at him directly. "I see you trying with them. I see you putting them first, showing up consistently, being patient when they are difficult. But trying is not the same as succeeding, and I cannot let you hurt them the way you hurt me. I cannot let them experience that kind of betrayal and abandonment. I understand completely." "Do you really?" "Because they are already attached to you in ways I cannot control or prevent. If you decide this is too hard, if you eventually go back to your old life and old priorities, they will be absolutely destroyed. And I will never forgive you for that. Never. I am not going anywhere. I am not leaving them. I am not returning to that old life. You said similar things to me once. You said I was your future. You said you loved me. And then you destroyed everything with your weakness. Words mean nothing to me anymore, Dominic. I only believe actions sustained over long periods of time." Dominic has no defense because her point is devastatingly valid. Words mean nothing when his previous actions proved him capable of complete betrayal when faced with pressure. Then do not believe my words at all. Watch my actions every single day. Judge me entirely by what I do, not what I say. Hold me to impossible standards and see if I meet them anyway. Mara finally looks at him directly, her expression unreadable in the dim light filtering from inside the house. "I want to hate you. It would be so much easier and cleaner if I could just hate you without complication." "Why can you not?" "Because I see you with our children and I see glimpses of the man I thought you were before everything fell apart. the man I fell in love with. And that makes me angrier than anything else because it means some part of that person was real and you chose to destroy him anyway. You chose to become someone else. Someone worse. And now you are trying to find your way back. They sit in silence after that observation, the distance between them vast, but perhaps no longer quite as insurmountable as it had been weeks or months before. Healing happens in the quiet spaces between words, in the small, repeated gestures that accumulate over time until they become something resembling trust, or at least the possibility of trust. 6 months pass in a rhythm of shared custody and careful cooperation. Mara and Dominic navigating their new reality with the caution of people who know exactly how badly things can go wrong and are determined not to repeat past mistakes. Dominic has the children 3 days each week, learning to be an actual parent through endless trial and error. He masters bedtime routines and homework help, and the particular tone needed when one sibling is picking on the other. He attends school conferences and soccer games and art shows, cheering with pride that hurts his chest in the best way. Mara watches him grow into fatherhood, seeing his genuine love for their children, his patience when they are difficult, his joy in their accomplishments. She finds herself able to have civil conversations with him about parenting strategies, to coordinate schedules without tension, to slowly build a partnership that actually works. The romantic distance between them remains vast, Mara's heart still protected by walls built from betrayal. But the hostility has transformed into something gentler that might someday become friendship. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, Ethan's 6th birthday, they gather in Mara's backyard for a small celebration. Dominic arrives with carefully chosen gifts he discussed with Mara in advance, a telescope for Ethan's space obsession, a professional art set for Lily's drawing. Both children are thrilled. Dominic spends the afternoon teaching Ethan about constellations, while Lily draws portraits of everyone present. Tamara and Rachel talk quietly, both women who witness the entire journey and understand its significance. At one point, Ethan asks both his parents to help build a sandcastle together in the sandbox Mara installed last summer. For the first time since reuniting, Dominic and Mara work together on something beyond pure logistics. They laugh when Ethan accidentally destroys one wall, rebuild with the children's enthusiastic help. And in those moments, Mara catches glimpses of what their life might have been if courage had been chosen over fear years before. Later, after Tamara and Rachel leave and the children play in the fading light, Dominic tells Mara that watching her with their children has taught him what real courage actually looks like in practice. "You built this entire life alone," he says quietly. "You raised them to be kind and brave and whole. I will spend the rest of my life trying to earn even a fraction of the respect you deserve." Mara admits that seeing him sacrifice his company and comfort showed her he was capable of growth she had not believed possible. "I do not know if I can ever love you again romantically," she says with complete honesty. "That wound is too deep. But I do not hate you anymore." And that is something significant. "That is everything," Dominic says quietly. They stand together watching their children play. Two people who have loved and destroyed each other, slowly learning to coexist in a space between past hurt and future possibility. It is not a happy ending, but it is a beginning, fragile and uncertain and real. As the sun sets over the mountains and the first stars appear, Ethan calls for both his parents to come see. "Look," he says, pointing up at the sky with wonder in his voice, "you can see 3 stars together, like our family, Mama and Dad and me and Lily." Dominic and Mara exchange a glance, something passing between them that neither can name but both can feel. That night, after the children are asleep, Mara walks Dominic to the door. She does not invite him to stay. But she does not rush him out either. "Thank you for today," she says, "for being present, for being consistent, for showing up. There is nowhere else I would rather be." They stand in the doorway, close enough to touch but not touching, the space between them filled with everything that has been and everything that might still be. Mara does not know if she will ever fully trust him again, does not know if the wounds will ever completely heal, but she knows he is learning to be the father their children deserve. And maybe, someday, that will be enough. Maybe, given enough time and care and consistent action, some broken things can be rebuilt into something different but still whole. Not the same, never the same. But maybe, just maybe, enough. The future remains unwritten, but for the first time in 7 years, Mara allows herself hope. And in the quiet darkness of Pine Ridge, with her children sleeping peacefully and the ghost of old love standing at her door, that fragile hope feels like the beginning of something worth believing in again. The end.